Bill Belichick is interviewing for the head coaching position of the North Carolina Tar Heels. That's right, the college football North Carolina Tar Heels. I'm going live tonight. I wasn't planning on recording anything, but then Bill Belichick decided to interview for the job at North Carolina. So that changed. But anyways, comment in the chat what you think. I'm streaming this on X and then my YouTube channel. Subscribe if you're not there. Trying to do 1 or 2 episodes a day. So this is absolutely wild news. I don't think anybody I saw this coming. I don't think anybody else did. I'm just kidding. I did not see this coming. So this is crazy, man. I'm streaming live. So I got some points here and I think I titled it like wild scenarios. Yeah, chaos that more than meets the eye. So I'm going to give that. I'm going to get into that stuff beyond just Bill Belichick interviewing and potentially being hired himself that could ensue from this. So appreciate everybody hopping on. Feel free to comment in the chat. I'm going to try to check X notifications on my phone as I'm going here. So apologize if I'm looking away some, but I'm just trying to dialogue as much as possible on this. So I'm going to start really basic here, and I will get into it, like just wild things I think about this. But I do want to give like a layout for those that may not be familiar with Bill Belichick. I know that's like probably a roll the eyes for many. Nobody knows everything. Keep this in mind. This is a popular name. So folks that may not even be interested in football or heavy in college, really want nothing to do with the NFL, may not really understand the background here. So I do think it's fair just to lay it out here. It also helps me just to get in a cadence and a flow for what I'm about to state, which is a lot of things that I think could happen off of this, which are pretty crazy. So Bill Belichick is a legendary NFL head coach, coached the New England Patriots for 24 years, 6 Super Bowl championships. Tom Brady is pretty much everybody knows, greatest quarterback of all time, arguably greatest player of all time in NFL history. Was this quarterback for all 6 of those? I'll say 5.5. I mean, Drew Bledsoe helped a lot with the first one. He just got shafted because he got hurt. Who knows if they would have won it with Bledsoe at the helm, but that's another conversation. So Belichick's 72 years old. That's wild. He's going for a head coaching job. He's proven everything he has. I know after he departed New England, they had a few bad years at the end there, and him and Robert Kraft like split ways. But then he interviewed for the Atlanta Falcons head coaching job, and they went with, I forget who they ended up hiring. Pop it in the chat if you know the name here on X or YouTube or wherever. But did not get that job, which fine. You figured, okay, he's going to resurface at some point in the NFL because he still has an interest in coaching. Who the heck saw him going to North Carolina? Like, what the heck? What the heck? So this guy's won 6 Super Bowls, NFL from the start. Since 1975, his first gig is an assistant with the then Baltimore Colts. That's how far back we go. He's been in the NFL. This isn't a guy that's flip-flopped NFL college. This isn't like a Harbaugh. You know what I mean? The Raheem Morris. Thank you, Rumors. Awesome. Yes, awesome. And I think Raheem, didn't he bail as the Dolphins head coach? Didn't he get fired as the Dolphins head coach? And this is like his second chance. But anyways, he's doing decent in Atlanta. I think Atlanta's problem was their administration drafting Michael Penix over thinking. Alex, man, good to see you. Go Dogs. I'm going to pop the stuff on the screen here. Actually, it's not showing. Alex said, I think he's trying to drum up interest, stay relevant for NFL jobs. That's an awesome point, Alex. That definitely could be a psychological thing here. It does too. Like, Alex, I actually go Dogs, man. I actually thought about that. Like, just outside walking my dog, ironically enough, is when I thought about it. But like, does this force NFL teams his hand? You know what I mean? Because he's clearly like, I don't know if he caught it, Alex, but like I just mentioned, he interviewed for your, I don't know if the Falcons are your team. I'm just going on the Athens Atlanta theme, but He interviewed for the Falcons job, I think, last year. And then, as rumors said, Raheem Morris got it, but like he didn't get that job. But he clearly has an interest in NFL jobs or a job again. So does that mean like he's just like what you said, like he's doing it for that reason? And if anybody else has comments, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm going to try to check notifications as we go along here. But that could be right because then it's, I mean, NFL teams at this point, like, well, like the Jags are one example. They know they're out, right? Their quarterback's trash. Their record's trash. Quarterback's hurt. I don't want to say he's trash. He's hurt. Therefore, their season is screwed. It was screwed before he got hurt. But anyways, aside, you know, like you fire Doug Peterson now. Okay, first to the party, right? Just using Jags as an example. I'm potentially getting Belichick, and maybe this is Belichick saying, okay, you guys, I want you to be on my timeline, right? To Alex's point. So kind of propel that forward by saying, hey, I'm just going to interview for a head coaching job with the Tar Heels. But anyways, that's his background, right? Six Super Bowls, all NFL from day one. Again, this is not a guy back and forth. That's why nobody besides myself saw this coming. Again, just kidding. I did not see this coming. Did not even want to record live tonight. That's how much I did not see this coming. But Bill Belichick had other plans. I literally had the TV on to watch the Lions and Packers. But anyways, thought this was more interesting. I'm sure Herb Street's calling that game right now like, what? This news broke. I saw it like 3 hours ago, like was the latest that I saw it on Google when I did a search for Belichick, like the first. But my guy Kevin, I actually saw it on X too. So shout out Kevin. UNC historically, let me spit you guys their records. They've had one winning 10-win season since 1997. That came in like 2011, 2015. That was 2015. So this is why it kind of, like Kevin was saying, it kind of makes sense. It's kind of a home run hire. So since 1997, one season of 10 wins or more, and that came in 2015 when they went 11-3 under Larry Fedora. And I was actually a huge Larry Fedora fan because he started at SMU and got them rolling right, and then he fell off hard at North Carolina, 3-9, and then 2-9 his last two seasons, and that's when they hired Mac Brown, who pretty much did mediocre the whole time. Somebody shouted out like, well, he's done good. Like they had Drake May and they had some other guys, and like, yeah, they did, but like, come on, it's North Carolina, like that. But that's what like Kevin was saying earlier on X is like, that's why this is a home run hire. Like I just told you guys, like they've had one season of 10 wins or more since 1997. And let's be honest, like college football is a revenue builder, especially if you're the University of North Carolina, like you're a college football blue blood. Do they really care if they get back to 9 or 10 wins a year, if they can get Bill Belichick in seat? Do you know how much revenue that would draw? Just so like, people could go and say that they saw Bill Belichick walk past them. Like you have to keep in mind too, geographically, this is not in New England anymore. So this is a different population. More than likely, a lot of these people in the Carolinas and down south and stuff that can now drive to see the greatest or one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time. And you're on an arm's length of them, right? Because they're walking into the stadium and whatever. And that matters. Like he alone, seeing him on the sideline will sell tickets. So that's something that, you know, it could be a thing. It's just, sorry, my thoughts are kind of delayed here because this is so wild. And I'm trying to go live, just to help you guys out, get something here to talk. But I did have some key points too. So the coaching staff that I see him hiring is not, and then Alex will get to your point. Anybody else wants to hop in the chat, feel free. Let me know your comments, your thoughts. If he's hired, these are all ifs, like, and these are like, may not even be a great chance, but this is stuff that I can see Belichick himself trying to freaking do, because why not? Belichick gets hired as head coach, right? 3 assistants I can see him taking a shot at. Now that I've said the word 3, I'm going to give you guys, I'm just pausing a second so you can think about the 3. Most of these should be pretty obvious. But the first one, Nick Saban, they're best friends. I mean, they Saban coached as Belichick's DC during Belichick's first head coaching gig with the Cleveland Browns. And Saban was, so Belichick was in that seat from 91 to 95, and Saban was there the whole time with him then, because he was there from 91 to 95. And then Belichick got fired. But anyways, that relationship goes back that far, right? And then if you ever saw it was a few years ago, HBO did a series or episode, like it might have been one episode on the Belichick and Saban relationship. I forget what they called it. It was awesome. If you haven't seen it, it's still worth a watch to go back. And it just showed their relationship in the offseason primarily, how they got together. And they get together for 2 weeks every offseason and just sit in Saban's office. And they do other stuff too, like they hang out, they golf, etc. And they just talk ball. This is when, my disclaimer, this is when Belichick was in seat in New England still, and Saban was in seat at Alabama, right? So they were both still coaching and just picking each other's brains, really. You know what I mean? That was fascinating to me. Like, I just loved seeing that whole thing, but it also, like, it talked about how their relationship started back with the Browns, and then it was kind of cool when Saban went back to the NFL with the Dolphins briefly, and they matched up. But how that relationship has just kind of always been there and a constant. So that's how you can absolutely see this. And Saban's roles, I've created content for this before. I wrote articles on SaturdayBlitz.com about this. And I've also, I think, done a podcast or two on it, scenarios I can see Saban coming back. And until this wild news, I thought he was going to come back to coach. I thought it would be at West Virginia. I've said that as of like a month ago, when Neil Brown's seat was getting very hot-ish. Now Neil Brown's gone. So that rumor mill is heightened even more, especially McAfee just came out and Saban said that he wants to help with the West Virginia search recently. Well, now this happens. And it could just be as simple as Alex was saying, like he's just trying to drum up interest. There's nothing more to it. He didn't have any interest. He's 72 years old. Why would he want to do college recruiting? Like, I've seen that I just posted a tweet on this a bit ago, and that's a good point. Like, why would he have interest? I'm gonna tell you what a theory I think why. But the other theory is he doesn't. It's touche, Alex. Like, it's a psychological thing. He's drumming up interest. You know what I mean? So it could be that, but anyway, Saban, I could see coming in similar to what I said about scenarios at West Virginia, coming in not as a head coach, but Saban would again come in as a DC or a position coach, even like DBs are his baby, right? Be like Kirby at Georgia. You know what I mean? Like, if he scaled back at any point later in his career, doing something like that, like a position, I think, like, the thing with Saban that, like, we can say that, like, oh, he doesn't want to do it. He's happy on game day. You see him smiling. You see Miss Terry smiling. Like, yeah, all that's true, but a coach is a coach. Like, you don't know, too, how much, even if you're not a coach, like in life, if you've ever had a job and you leave that job, do something totally unrelated, right? You kind of maybe loved that job so much and you didn't realize how much you liked it until it's no longer a part of your life. That happens with coaches, too. So even if Saban, like, I get it, he said he didn't want to come back because the NIL players just asking for how much they're going to play and how much they're going to get paid. And that was all that mattered. They didn't care about growth and development as being some of the main reasons that he retired. If you can coach a position, that kind of changes things because you're no longer in charge of the entire room. You're in charge of one group of guys. If you're in charge of a position, you're in charge of what? 10, 15 guys max, including the walk-ons up through seniors. If you're in charge of a defense, you're just in charge of the defense. So it's a bit different, and money's not an obstacle for him. So, yeah, UNC would have deep pockets. It's freaking UNC. but it don't matter. He's made his money. This is just going to be a passion thing for him. And the other lever is he's coaching with his best friend. We just talked about it. That's value. Why wouldn't you, like, if any of us, like, we all have best friends, why wouldn't you want to work with your best friend? You know what I mean? If it was a sweet gig and, you know, it all sounded good, like, dude, that'd be sick. You know what I mean? Belichick, your best buddy, going to you and saying, dude, I'm the head guy. We're both defensive minds. Like, we can run this. The only negative to that is, I'm not on College game day anymore. And I'm not in the state of West Virginia if I was thinking about going back to being an assistant coach there. And how wild, by the way, if Saban in theory was thinking about, like McAfee said, West Virginia, like that had to be solely like laser focused his mindset. Maybe he didn't even know about Belichick's plan to potentially, if it's real, coach at UNC if he's seriously interviewing. And now he's going to be like, what? Because he knows he's probably top of the list to be hit up by Belichick. Belichick's probably hit him up already. Hey, man, if I get this job, do you want to, like, be on my staff? They got no shame, these guys. I mean, these guys, like, Belichick's not going to, like, not get a hold of Nick right now because he doesn't want to jinx it. He cares. He knows who he is. So, interesting there. The second name would be Stephen Belichick, Bill's son. Bill, actually, I looked at him on Wikipedia, but I didn't know he doesn't have, so it says, okay, so Stephen Belichick played lacrosse at Rutgers for 2008 2011. And he played football as a long snapper in 2011 at Rutgers. That's pretty interesting. And then Bill took him under his wing as an assistant with the Patriots starting in 2012, worked his way up as a position coach, safeties, DBs, offensive linebackers. And then this past year, he's defensive coordinator with the Washington Huskies in college under Jed Fish. So that's pretty interesting. Obviously, the tie is there. It gets Stephen back East Coast, A. B, coaches with his dad again. That's what he did for a decade in New England. That's who brought him up. So I think that that's pretty cool. That would be freaking obvious. Like, that's how, like, if Saban wanted to coach with Belichick, and obviously he's going to want his son there too, I could see Saban doing a position coach thing and Stephen being the DC or maybe co-DCs, something, you know what I mean? And people say, well, Saban couldn't be humble enough. Like, he's going to want to have control. Saban can release control if he wants. Like, you give Saban a job, he's going to do that job. He's just going to do it very well. It's going to be very detailed. Herb Street actually sounded off on this. He was on a with Locked On SEC, I think. Chris Gordy, like a week or two ago, and he was asked like how Saban was to work with, and he said he was really surprised. Like, Saban always after shows and like prep and stuff will ask Kirk how he did, like for feedback and stuff. And he said he's not going at this like, oh, I'm Nick Saban, I'm the greatest coach of all time, like I don't even care what you guys say kind of mindset. No, he's going at it with a humble mindset. And that's what I'm saying. Like, he can be a position coach and not try to cause a stir and try to control everything. He's going to stay in his lane. And this is more of a different dynamic if it happens with Belichick being hired, because it's his best friend. There's already a significant trust factor there, a respect factor there. Again, these are scenarios. I'm not saying these are 100% going to happen. These are just cool what ifs. That's what I like to do. I don't want to spit you like who's going to win and lose, how many games if Belichick's hired are they going to win. I don't care. It's North Carolina. That's why I don't care. Also, let's have fun with this. You know, this is football. Like, let's theorize and talk about different stuff that could happen that's off the wall. That's my game. If you disagree, great. If you agree, great too. Thank you for being here. Comment in the chat. If you have anything to say, I am refreshing my X feed as well. Patty, good to hear from you, Patty. We've been talking recruiting today a bit too. Can't see him being the nurturing or developer of young men. Fully agree. It's wild, right? Like, I saw this coming. Nobody else did. I'm just kidding. I didn't. I've said that a few times. I'm gonna stop saying it now. But I didn't plan on recording tonight. But Bill Belichick had other plans, so I said, well, I'll hop on, see what the people have to say. So appreciate it, Patty. Anybody else wants to comment on Twitter, X, or in the chat here? Feel free to. So the third one, assistant coach that I could see on this staff, and again, this is like Belichick to North Carolina itself is crazy, but now I'm trying to think ahead. Like, what would make this even more crazy? I just mentioned, if you're hopping on now, Belichick hiring Saban to a defensive position, maybe defensive coordinator, maybe position coach like DB, bringing over his son Stephen Belichick from Washington as defensive coordinator, presumably. The third one would be Tom Brady. Brady is known as the greatest of all time, definitely greatest quarterback of all time. Some say greatest NFL player of all time. I don't know, man. For me, like, I look at Brady and, like, he's a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But, like, when I think NFL, I think, like Flash, like Derrick Henry, like Eric Dickerson, Jim Brown. Like, I think of those guys, man. I think of Michael Irving. Like, I think of Randy Moss. Like, I think of Flash. I think of, like, Brady was an awesome quarterback. Brett Favre was an awesome quarterback. Peyton Manning was an awesome quarterback, but they weren't like running and hurdling over guys. I just like kind of that more action. You know what I mean? Brady, inarguably greatest quarterback of all time. But aside, anyways, why wouldn't you want the greatest quarterback of all time to come be your quarterback coach at the University of North Carolina? That's my third pick. I think that one's pretty obvious. Makes a lot of sense, right? Brady don't need the money either. For it, fun for him. You know what I mean? I don't know if he has any aspirations. I didn't look into it before, see if I can find any quotes or anything. I don't know if Brady at any point had any aspirations of being a head coach. I do know that he has friction with the University of Michigan. He's been back. It's been documented in like I think it was the recent one they did, the 6-episode thing on Brady. He's been back to campus like twice. Like, it's something there. Like, I actually saw him in college. Like, Drew Henson and him split time. There was definitely friction there. Like, he didn't really get the treatment, so to speak, that he should have as a quarterback. So I think he felt kind of slighted maybe. But anyways, that would make sense, right? So think about that. Okay, if that all happens, Bill, let me know what you think in the chat. Bill Belichick, head coach. And then under him, let's say all three of these went. Bill Belichick is head coach, Nick Saban, Stephen Belichick, your son, and Tom Brady on the same staff. So you got three defensive minds there, Belichick, Saban, and Stephen Belichick, and then Brady on the offensive side, which, just for the record, I don't think Brady would be or could be anything ever more than a quarterback coach. Who even knows if he would be a good quarterback coach? Like, yeah, you may be able to play the position. It doesn't mean you can coach the position well. It's just what it is. It's not a knock on Brady. It's just how it is with some people. You know what I mean? If you're a statistician, it doesn't mean that you're a good math teacher. You might be good at numbers and figuring things out. Doesn't mean you're a good teacher at it, coach. So anyways, the final thing here that I think I'll get to Alex's point first, and then I'll go back to mine. Thank you, Alex, for putting that in. And anybody else wants to chime in, they can. Let me check my notifications here. Nothing else besides what Patty said before. So thank you, Patty. Alex said another angle. I'm going to put it in the Jumbotron here. Another angle for this is that UNC is trying to get people interested in the job. They were also linked to Lincoln Riley recently. Could it be UNC is reaching out to big names, asking them if they can just say Bill is interested so that other names get intrigued by the job? I see what Alex is going with, and I like it. You're trying to drum up interest, man, and that's to the point, right, Alex? Like, we just talked about, like, UNC's had one season of 10 wins or more since 1997. And you see that in the NFL too, right, Alex? Like, there's organizations that have a tough time drawing players. We'll point to the Cleveland Browns. We pointed to the Detroit Lions forever because they've been bad for so long. Like, you get a reputation. So if an NFL guy has contracts, plural, offers at certain places. Well, why would he maybe go to the Browns for $1 million a year more when the organization is trash, the team is trash? He might get $1 million less, but go somewhere else, and they're in a better situation. Kind of recently, honestly, Alex, like Saquon, right? Barkley. If you saw that off-season Hard Knocks, which that thing was freaking stellar. It crushed the in-season Hard Knocks. Like, it was so cool to see the management side of that. But he was in negotiations, and it's, even if you didn't see it, it's pretty known that Barkley was trying to negotiate with the Giants, and they were just a little off by a couple million. Giants wouldn't bend, Barkley wouldn't bend, and now we see Barkley's turning in an MVP season in Philly. So it's kind of to that point, you know what I mean? Like, there's just certain teams that, like, it's hard to lure players. And like, was that in Barkley's head is what I'm saying, right? Was it about the money, or was it really just like, no, the Giants, like, you guys are trash. I know you're going to be trash. I don't want to be there with the trash. Like, you're bringing Daniel Jones back. You just paid him. You know what I mean? So I know what he is, and we all know what he is. Like, we already pretty much knew what he was, but now he's cut. So proof in the pudding, right? So, therefore, similar situation here, Alex. I appreciate that point. They've had some really tough years. When they hired Mac Brown, man, I'm sure you were thinking, Alex is very well versed in the college game, so give him a foul. But I'm sure you were sitting there like I was thinking, how does this ain't going to go past 8 or 9 wins, and it didn't. I was surprised with how well he did do, even though it was 8 or 9 wins at best. Like, he left Texas for a reason. The game had pretty much passed him by at that point. Longhorn fans were not happy with how he was running the program. It was pretty much running it not into the ground, but close to the ground. So why did North Carolina think it was not going to continue? It did. I mean, to be fair, North Carolina doesn't have Texas expectations. Never have, never will on the football field. Basketball, obviously, totally different. It's a basketball school. But that is a good point to drum up interest for other candidates. So appreciate it. Anybody else wants to chat, pop it in. The final reason I have that could be, Alex just said, I love Mac. He's truly a wonderful person and beloved coach, but he wasn't going to win in the ACC. Yeah, 100%. It'll be cool to see him back in broadcasting, right? Presumably he gets a gig at ESPN or somewhere. So that'll be cool. Good stuff, man. Thanks. Secession plan. Like, Stephen Belichick is young. Is he 38? 30? He was born in 1987. That's right. I saw before. So he's like 37, 38. To me, that's obvious. Like, I thought about that too. I'm like, this is just borderline. I don't want to say politics is the right word. This is what it is. Like, he's looking out for his family. And Steven's done well. I didn't look up stats again. I went live on this. Sorry, guys. So I omitted some stuff that I usually would state or research beforehand, but I just wanted to get it out. Belichick's done well at Washington, 10 years of experience under his dad, Bill. So I could see that. I could see him coming back and back East Coast, but then it's just a succession plan. Like, Bill Belichick is in seat for 2-3 years, hacks it while he can, and then insert Steven, because at that point, Steven will have he's already got a decade of coaching experience on the defensive side of the ball at the professional level. But then he has 4 in college. Like, how do you not make that guy your next head coach? Maybe Steven really likes it in college, So, it's fascinating. I can't get over this, man. Bill Belichick is interviewing for a college job. Doesn't mean it matters in North Carolina. It's a college job. He can interview at Liberty, Coastal Carolina, and I would say that's freaking crazy. Like, this is even more crazy because I guess it's a Power 4. Like, and that's the thing. Like, Alice mentioned ACC too with Mac, but this is Bill Belichick in the ACC. How many games do you think he could win? Put it in the chat real quick. If they did hire him, I'm saying 8 or 9 max. Like, I don't even think he cares. Like, this is something, man. This is really, really trippy. But anyways, I'm going to conclude it here. Just wanted to get my thoughts out, but really, just legendary coach, 6 Super Bowls, always and forever NFL. You would think Bill Belichick, he comes and gets the job at North Carolina. And I just started thinking, I always think ahead on this stuff, man. Like, okay, what's next? Like, and he hadn't even gotten the job. He might not even get the job. Like, I just wrote an article on this, like the what ifs. He may not even get the job. And I wrote an article on it. Like, I can't help myself. I just do that. So presuming he gets the job, I said Bill Belichick hires Nick Saban as DC or position coach on defense. Stephen Belichick as, if he hired him, presumably DC. So that makes even co-DC or position coach. And then Tom Brady potentially as quarterback coach. I understand that these are long shots, especially all 3 of them combined, but talk about a mismatch of a staff. Like, I don't mean that negatively. All 3 have done great things as players and coaches. But awesome. Alex said he'd be an interesting recruiting tool. That's for dang sure, especially the parents of these kids, right? Like, they've seen probably parents are like 30 to 50 years old range, 35 to 50 years old of these kids. Like, they've seen the Patriots in their heyday. Imagine like being in a household, no matter what part of the country, and Bill Belichick walks in. Like, that's like Nick Saban walking in, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, everybody knows who he is. Like, holy cow, that's Bill Belichick. So yeah, that's a good point, Alex. But appreciate everybody hopping on. Follow me on X at Pigskin Petey. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. I got a channel. I try to do one of these a day. The next episode that I had planned, and it's still coming out tomorrow, mid-morning. I had Catherine on, big Longhorn fan, Tex Blonde05 on X. We talked about Sarkisian and just the positive culture that Texas has going on right now. So that's the next one I got going on. And then next week we're doing the Feinbaum After Hours Crew reaction show from the college football playoff. Not next week. It's now like 3 days away. It's this Sunday. After that show concludes, I'm going to do a live stream with that crew, some of the Feinbaum callers, and then some others that are traditionally, routinely in the Feinbaum After Hours space on X. So good talking to everybody. Have a good night.